Most likely you're here today because you are new to final expense or aspiring to sell final expense and want some guidance on how to be successful in your very first year of selling final expense insurance. And I'm going to give you my tips and tricks in order to be a successful final expense agent your very first year out the gate. So stay tuned. Greetings and salutations, it's David Duford here at Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense and Medicare, both face-to-face and over the phone. Make sure you subscribe if you love this kind of content and thumbs this video up, as we do content like this daily and would love you to jump aboard and subscribe. So thanks very much in advance. So the purpose of this video is to give you my advice on how to be successful in your very first year of selling final expense. And it's very important, after all, to be successful in this business, since simply put, probably somewhere in the range of 90% plus of new final expense agents fail out of the business. And as soon as you recognize that the vast majority of agents are going to fail, and that the minority of agents that do succeed are the exception to the rule, it's really important that you discover what ways that you can possess and create to create an edge in your final expense business so that you can survive the toughest year, which typically is the first year for most final expense agents, so that you can begin to thrive and do extremely well selling final expense and having a wonderful and prosperous insurance business. So let's jump right into some of these tips so that we can help you out and be successful in your first year selling final expense. So number one, I think most important to remember, and look, I think sales is important, of course. I do 14 hours of sales training with my agents nationally at DeFord Insurance Group. But more importantly, I think to remember, that's easy to forget, but it's simple yet profound, is that selling final expense ultimately is a game of numbers. I don't care if you give me Tony Robbins or the most aspirational, charismatic person that you can discuss or think of. If you don't have enough people to see as an agent, then you're not going to succeed. You have to have a flow, a steady flow of as many leads as you can handle. In fact, the best problem to have in selling final expense successfully is too many people to see, too many leads to get back in touch with, because the reciprocal, or the opposite of that, too few people to see, is the worst problem to have. It eventually leads to your failure in the business. So what does the numbers actually mean to you as an agent? In other words, what should you be striving for? What numbers do matter, and what should you be tracking to define what success actually looks like when it comes to the numbers, or the game of numbers? And I like to keep it simple, and that's the magic number 15. I learned this from reading several insurance sales books from legends, from successful insurance trainers from many years ago, and I think this rule still applies to really any insurance agent. And it's the power of having 15 completed appointments every single week. If you can complete 15 appointments every single week, it's likely you're going to find sales every single week and have a consistent flow of new sales. Whereas if I talk to agents who are full-time especially, and who may be running only 8 appointments or 10 appointments, what I have discovered is their likelihood of consistently writing business is more of kind of in flux. It's fluctuating. And they have great weeks, but they have bad weeks, and it gets to their head. It's demoralizing. Look, this is work after all, and you have to look at this business as a function of how many presentations you're doing. And so you need to get your numbers up as quickly as possible to at least 15 completed presentations if you want to have success. And so if you want to have success in your first year, make that happen. You can do more than that if you want to, but please, if you're full-time in this business and you're not getting 15 appointments, I assure you, your chances of failure are much, much higher. So get your activity up, run more appointments, and see more people. So number 2 tip here is focus and put your blinders on. And this is so critical if you want to be successful selling final expense in your first year. We live in an age of constant distraction. There is always somebody telling you how something else that you're not doing is a better use of your time, and outcome will be much more money and much more lucrativeness of an opportunity. And unfortunately, these distractions deter us from the hard work and sacrifice that any sort of success in life require. I learned many years ago the concept of paying your dues, or paying the price to be successful. And part of that is saying no to other potentially good opportunities even in the face of an opportunity that at that current moment in time may seem tough. It may not be fun. And final expense isn't always going to be fun. It's not just rainbows and sunshine. It's not just big sales that you're going to make. You're going to go dry. You're going to question why you're in this business. And the more you can focus your effort on this one particular strategy, on this one particular business, and better yet, put blinders on to all the naysayers or all the people who are trying to seduce you into another business line or another strategy that say this final expense is bad, the more you can put blinders onto that stuff, the better your life quality and success in this business is going to be. I mean, I would even go so far as suggesting turning off Facebook, maybe even turning my YouTube channel off. I know it sounds crazy. I love you watching my content, but sometimes this kind of constant inundation of what ifs and possibilities and other ideas isn't necessarily good because it detracts you from your focus. So that's an individual thing you got to decide on. It's something that was important for me. I put on blinders constantly. I do a lot of these things I suggest in my day-to-day business, and I'm very successful, I think. So something to consider, but most importantly, do focus your efforts entirely on final expense. Let there be nothing else that gets in your way, because the more distractions, the more opportunities you start seeking simultaneously means you have a dissolution of focus, and without focus, there is no success. Now, some specific stuff to the actual selection of final expense carriers. I wouldn't recommend using more than 5 final expense carriers to start with in your first year. Try to resist the urge of disseminating your actual focus over a dozen plus carriers. This is so easy to get into because there's a ton of carriers out there, and there's that old FOMO instinct. You're going to have the fear of missing out. You're going to lose out on business opportunities if you're not carrying all these different carriers. And guys, all this is going to do when you go overboard on the carrier selection is that you're going to be overwhelmed with options. You're going to be more confused than you would have if you had a smaller selection. And confused agents don't sell insurance. They don't sound confident. People don't buy from them. Their mindset changes for the negative, and a lot of them fail. So what should you do instead? Well, I advocate for my newer agents to start with 4 to 5 carriers, and whether they're doing final expense telesales with me or final expense face-to-face with me. I find that 5 carriers is the perfect match of the quality of underwriting from different carriers, so you can write the best policies on your clients with the best underwriting terms, the best pricing, so you can write competitively priced products, and the ease of use that agents need to be successful. Any more than that, especially in the very beginning, is just going to lead to overwhelm. And again, the more overwhelmed you are, the more of an obligation you're going to feel to know all this stuff, when really true knowledge of success in this business comes from taking action, getting feedback, and getting course correcting based on what you experience firsthand with a real life prospect. So don't fall for the trap of contracting with every carrier on the face of the planet. Take the suggestion from a qualified mentor that knows what they're doing in this business. Pick up 3 to 5 carriers even, and focus on those. And then you'll have a great base of knowledge to help your clients with. And then when you pick up more carriers later on, 6 to 12 months later, you'll find it's way easier to do now that you have the baseline knowledge in your base 3 to 5 carriers. Last point I want to bring up here with being successful in your final expense sales career in your first year is to choose the right kind of leads, depending on whether you're going to do face-to-face or telesales in selling final expense. So what kind of leads should you be focusing on? Well, I'm a big advocate of paying the price for the best leads. Again, what did I mention from the beginning? You need to give yourself all the edges and advantages you can give yourself. So if you're a face-to-face agent, my number one recommendation still to this day, even with the technology we live with and breathe every single day, is using the old-fashioned final expense direct mail lead campaigns that just flat out work like a charm. Direct mail leads bring the best quality leads available that are in the position of buying. You have something that they actually physically filled out that you can show them that has their signature, and more people have better recall rate when it comes to direct mail. This is my number one option for any agents that want to join my agency. I highly encourage a face-to-face agent to start with direct mail, and if they have the ability financially, that is absolutely where I would recommend you to go when you start your final expense career. Now, what about telesales? What should telesales final expense agents do instead? I highly recommend that final expense telesales agents use TV leads to source them high quality leads that have the highest intent of buying. One of the things that many final expense telesales agents realize as they get into the business is there's a bit of a grind to it. If you're making outbound calls, calling on Facebook leads or telemarketing leads, there's a lot of rejection you're going to experience. A lot of people telling you no, a lot of hangups. It's a grind, and you got to put the hours in if you're going to do that strategy to be successful. And there are many people who are successful doing it. However, again, I want the opportunities and edges in my favor when I recruit a final expense telesales agent. My high recommendation to those agents is to buy into a TV lead program like one that we have to offer our agents exclusively. The way TV leads work are wonderful. First of all, they call you. The intent is at its peak because they decide to call that number. They know it's about burial insurance, and they know they're going to talk to a salesperson or very interested in learning more. This is incredible because when you outbound call, they may have forgotten about the leads or forgotten about the insurance, or worse, bought a policy from somebody already. TV leads, again, they call you, so there's a level of leverage that you have in the control of the conversation. There's a lot less stress because you're not grinding it out on the phone, calling hundreds of leads every day to hope to pick up a few conversations. Instead, you wait for the calls to come when they dial, and you're finding people at a peak level of interest. The average case sizes are a lot higher than other outbound sources using our inbound TV leads, for example. And the conversion rates are much higher. There are some lead systems where you do outbound calls to Facebook or telemarketing, which have average conversions of 5 to 8%. Whereas TV for us in January 2021, about the time when we recorded this, closed at the rate of 1 out of 4 leads. That's incredible. So we're a big advocate of the television leads. If you're a telesales agent, you should highly consider it. Yes, they're very expensive, but they're very high quality, but they return high on investment. And the quality of business that comes from them, just in the quality of your life as an agent, is just bar none. So that's my 4 tips on how to be successful in your first year selling final expense, regardless if you're face-to-face or selling telesales. I hope you enjoyed this video and got a lot of value added out of it. And if you'd like to learn more about joining my agency, you can click the links above or below to get more information on how my agency works. If you have a comment you want to leave below, feel free to. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. And make sure you check out my website at davidduford.com/FAQ. Subscribe and like and all that stuff as well. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.